Hello guys, and welcome back to Titan Customs. Since we last did our video, I've done a lot of research and I found something that makes this truck almost one of a kind. This is a 1977 C10, but it is actually a Big 10, and most of you know that just means 350 or 400 is an engine, 12 bolt or 44 is a rear end, heavy duty brakes, standard transmission most of the time, not all the time. These were a little bit heavier duty coil springs in the front, but that's not the most interesting thing of this. I have been looking over my shoulder, and while I've been working with you guys looking at the carburetor, I've been looking at the back of the firewall since I did the carburetor pull off, since I unburied this thing with garbage. There are 3 lines coming out of the firewall right beside the brake booster. I have literally I've worked on these trucks thousands of times. I have done hundreds of lowering these trucks down in the mid to the 70s, 80s. That's what everybody wanted. I had never seen this before, and I had to do research for days to figure out what it finally is. And I have discovered what it is. This is an Nevada state truck. It's a government truck. So the deal is these trucks were ordered specifically for the state of Nevada. And when they did, they incorporated, I'm going to describe as a second heater system in them, with a second set of controls. And the idea is you're sitting out there in high altitude Nevada all night in the freezing weather, idling. Your defrost and stuff does not normally keep up with that, so they added a whole second system. There's things I've seen through this whole entire thing. You may have seen me kind of double take when I was looking through the front door one time, or the passenger side door. I looked at the AC ducts, and I'm like, those are AC ducts. Why isn't an AC duct on a non-AC vehicle standard heater? This never has had air conditioning. The other clip has never had anything associated, no air conditioning. And we've got their standard heater and piping already hooked up, as you've seen. So what it was is hundreds of hours or thousands of hours sitting in cold temperatures, idling. Your truck just simply couldn't keep the windows or the people defrosted. You couldn't see, so they ordered them with these systems. I did not and have never seen it before. So I'm going to take you off that tripod right now, and I'm going to show you what it is. I'm wanting to document this because, like I said, I've been around these things since I was a kid. I have been under these hoods and charged AC systems so many times I can't even count them. I lived in Reading. They came in all the time needing AC charge. It's life support in Reading. It's hot. Anyway, so the other thing, we're going to go back a little bit as I'm sitting here fumbling for words. So the Big 10 is a really big thing to me. The 12 bolt, which it actually has, I am almost positive has 342s. Great for hot rod. The 350 instead of a 305, very big deal. Those things are boat anchors. I never liked them. There's people that like to play with them. I'm like, it's too small cubes. Why mess with it? If it's a 350, stroke or crank, 383. If it's actually the 400, and it may be, I tried to see the number in the back, too greasy, too dark, and a wiring harness right across it. Sooner or later, I'll figure that out when we get off this hill. But if it's 400, stroke or crank, 427, big deal. So all these things are just, it's like a mail order. This is what I want exactly to make a hot rod. Yeah, the springs are a little heavy. That can all be changed. Anyway, let me take you off, and I am going to show you this stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll leave it there. I seriously doubt I'm going to hook it up because we really don't need that much heat. But maybe I will. Just who knows. Let me take you off. We'll take a look at this, explain what I've got going on, and then we'll get to working on this truck. We're going to get the hood bolted down today. We're going to get the radiator and the cooling system all working, hooked up. And we were going to make the clutch work. I stole the clutch pedal off my truck, which is sacrilege, because it's a very nice truck and are on its way to being that way anyway. So let me get you down and show you what I'm talking about. All right, guys, I've got you off the tripod, as you can see. And those hoses right there coming out of the firewall are something you will probably never see in your life. Maybe there's somebody out there else that's seen that, but like I said, I've been under the hood of thousands of these trucks. I've never seen it, and it has baffled me. It's driven me absolutely crazy. As you can see, the standard heater core hoses are coming out there. One to the water pump, one to the intake manifold, very standard. I don't know where they hooked these up. This thing probably had a different water pump or had doubled. They probably had a T off of here. I don't see any plugs anywhere. I'm not sure how that was hooked up, but I know that's what they are. We're going to go inside and I'm going to show you what I found in there. So this thing does have two heater cores. That one and the one that I'm about ready to show you what's going on here. Like I said, that is a AC dash. Regular standard heater pickups don't have those, and it's because they didn't want people to freeze to death, literally. So I just took this duct out of there. See, it's got a slot right here. That's because I'm gonna get a good focus on this thing. This is a control for that second. It's got a heater motor in there. So there's high, low, and off on this side. And then I imagine this is just like on the bottom of that, hot to cold. So you can make it hotter or colder. That is just wild. It needs a new duct there, obviously. You really can't, well, maybe you can. The camera's picking it up better than I am. My eyes are, there's that crazy stuff down in there. It's in something, like I said, I've never seen this. I'm documenting it because it is definitely rare. There she is. Come on, focus on that dang thing. All right, so you get the idea. There's also a AC duct that comes out of right there that I got sitting in the back. So yeah, that is just the wildest thing I've never came across anything like that. Let me flip you back around and we'll get to doing some other stuff, but that's just wild. So we're going to put the clutch in it today. I took the parts, like I said, off the other truck. So let's get to doing some of these things and quit talking about this stuff. So, as you know, this isn't the original clip. So these are, getting alignment to work is going to be a bit of a challenge. You'll see there's washer marks here where the bolt is sitting. I am going to put the bolts in the side, the fender, but yeah, into the fender, because they don't move. This part moves, and I'm going to line it up with these bolts, or these marks, and tighten it down, and then attach the hood. Do the same thing, basically. Try to use where it was on the mark here and there. Hopefully we're close. That doesn't always work, but it usually gets you fairly close. I also managed to lose one of the hood bolts. I don't know how I did that. Imagine that in the woods. No, I put them right there. Whatever. I've got more. You know, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I'd like to see this run and drive in one episode. This is probably the last vehicle on the face of the earth you would want to pick to restore, because it was in its grave. It was literally being resurrected. No system on this, like I've said before, was functioning. Or is, we've got a couple of them functioning. We got carburation, engine runs, fuel systems in. Hopefully today we can get a lot further down that road to safely getting off this mountain. I will be doing will it runs in the future that are whole vehicles when we start, not literally been scavenged for every part you could possibly pull off of it without taking engines, trannies, rear ends out of it. Nope, not full tight. Need to be able to slide it to the mark. Got a smog canister in my way. This thing didn't come with smog. That was the other thing about the Big 10. That's the whole purpose. It was a 3/4 ton, it'd have to have air injection. That's why it doesn't have air injection. More that I discovered with research. So this thing didn't not pass smog because it didn't have smog pumps and stuff on it. It didn't pass smog because probably that carburetor was messed up. Well, no doubt. We seen it. Okay, that one goes right there. Really snug. Those appear to be right where they were in the previously. Where's the bolt? There you are. All right, those are tight. There's the one bolt I have. I'm baffled about that because I was careful. Evidently not careful enough. I'm going to switch around to the other side. Yeah. I really hope that is a 400. That would be really, really cool. I need an electric ratchet. day. I did line these two up on the washer marks, which gives that back one no other choice but to be where it's at. Those are plenty tight. Okay, step 2 is going to be a little tricky. My theory is I can walk this up, put one bolt in this side, and then go over and do the other side without dropping this on myself or you or going through the windshield. That may be just fantasy entirely. Actually, that's really looking like fantasy entirely. And up and over. And it's got like 6 inches up to go. I don't know about that. Ooh, crazy. Come on, stay there. Yeah, this is not sane. Come on, just right in there. You know, spiders crawling on me? Of course. Wow. Can you do this with one hand? The answer is no. That was seriously harder than it needs to be. Real good way to impale your windshield. Repeat over there. A little more stable this way, slightly. Now I get to do it left-handed. Yay! Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. There's a mark there where the washer seated. We're going to do that. I'm just going to pull it to that mark and tighten it down. At least I think I'm going to pull it to that mark and tighten it down. Yes, you are going to go to that mark. Why aren't you going to that? Oh, maybe that. Maybe I have to do the other side first. No. All the way down. As you can see, it's trying to close. There. That is the wrong direction. Almost. To slide the other side. Why is that not going? How about thumb therapy? Huh. That's probably why I didn't want to cooperate. Oh, that's what's going on. Oh. Yeah, you guys saw that, didn't you? Hood stiffener. Somebody welded a hood stiffener in here, and it is running directly into my spring, which is not allowing it to go forward enough to God, there's a cut mark right there too. It's not allowing the spring to go forward enough forward. So we're going to try it right there. I do have a grinder with me. I don't know if I have the cutoff wheel with it. And I can nub that off. I will do, because I don't like that at all. I mean, it's efficient. It's not going to fold. It gets rid of this problem of the hood folding. Surprised I didn't see that earlier. Certainly not the way I would do it, and I will definitely change that. I just put an extension on that I didn't need. We will do that together. Yeah, I took a fender bolt out to make sure I hadn't put a body bolt in there, a hood bolt in there. It was not. That's what I'm tightening right now. I checked them all. That one just disappeared somewhere. And that's definitely something you don't want to shut the hood down onto. I don't want to get these tools out of the way, but out of the way for now. Question now becomes, will the hood shut and not just be all out of whack with that brace like that? And it does. Okay, we have a hood. All right. Now let's reposition you and get a cooling system installed in this thing, like right now. Okay, let me grab a radiator. As you can imagine, my brain's still playing with that extra heater in there. You know what I think? And I know this is probably nothing any of you that were going to actually build one of these would think. And would you know it? This goes to the wide one. So this heater is a wide heater, 2-core. I'm just moving the mounts outward. Should say one mount outward, the other one stays the same. Get in your mount. Yep, just like that. Yeah. See if this actually works with all this. And it does not appear so. So, grab the other one. Hopefully, That seems to be short. All right, let me chase some parts here real quick and I'll get right back to you. Okay, we're back. The radiator is a bust right now. We don't have the right parts. The radiator's too tall for this application and the brackets aren't right. I'm going to have to see what other radiators I have or make some brackets. Oh yeah, and the shroud doesn't fit it also. So let's put a clutch pedal on. We've got some bolts, my stolen clutch pedal, and these are miserable, always, especially when your dirt creepers under your feet and sliding you around. Get the heck, come on, thank you. Okay, now we're done arguing with inanimate objects. I hate these little springs. They're a washer, but they're bent and they're meant to just keep it from the pin sliding back through. And of course, visibility is terrible. Okay. Oh, man, that is a really tight spot. Oh, that was unexpectedly smooth. Okay. They never cooperate that much. One below didn't. I did hook it up. I couldn't get you guys in a position where you could see anything. Kind of like this, you can see I'm doing something, but what is a big question? Oh, come on, you don't spin. So spreading would be good. I spoke too soon. Or maybe not. That's more cooperative. Alrighty, now comes the fun part. I'm going to get that spring, that linkage bar lined up with this pedal, and it's spring loaded. What the heck? Okay, and we're missing one of the That figures. Why is that way up there? Let's tighten that first, then ask that question. Something's not right here, because that shouldn't be that high. It should be that high. It sure feels like it's depressing a clutch. Why all the transfer in here? Are we missing the pivot bolt? That's not possible. It wouldn't be pivoting at all. What else is loose? That's a better question. Wow. Ow. Well, that's a clutch. Whether it works or not, we're going to have to fire it up and test that. All right. Okay, guys, I got you back up. I had all kinds of issues. I went to see if this thing had crankability, and it did not crank, which is not good considering it's been doing that rather well. Oh, I had to go switch out batteries. That was a problem. We're going to see if that cured the problem. I put this one on the twice batteries. Put this one on the charger an hour ago or so. What I'm wanting to do is start this, obviously. Wow. And when we ran it last time, it was, like I said, it was missing a little. And it was getting dark like it is now, so I was in a hurry. And when I got home, I was like, wow, you had to crank that idle way up. That's not normal, considering it's out there and idled perfectly before. And it dawned on me that what was going on is the float was stuck. Remember, the kit we put in this thing was 10 years old, maybe older, sitting in a truck, so the tip may have been shrunk up a bit. I don't think it's nothing big. I think I can smack it and it'll stop doing that. At least I hope so. But I did take off the choke thing off camera. It was full of mouse crud. Cleaned it out, so it is fully choked. Right now it's choked like it should be. Providing this actually turns over and we have enough juice, so it starts, we're going to try to put it in gear. And hopefully that thing, we don't have to smack it too many times and it cooperates. I might have to do some adjusting on it. backing the idle down, because if I fixed it, that it was over fueling us. Like that. Dead miss. It's got a good miss. Let's move you around and see if this thing has gears. Yeah, that sounds terrible. That's success. We have a clutch. We could actually move this if we, well, brakes and steering. You see that thing steaming? Vapor coming out of there? That is most likely a stuck float. Let me go look. See what we're doing inside. I think that's what this thing's doing. I think we got a stuck float. Which would suck because it's got a brand new needle and seat in it. And let me see. That's not warm enough to... Let's try something again. Before we go anywhere else with this. Oh, we do not need to melt the starter wire. And we're gonna, right there. take a look, see we got blow-by. Let's see if you can get blow-by shot. That is not. I do. Okay, that isn't blow-by. That's stuff burning off the exhaust manifold. So that's very good. Overheat this thing, we run it much longer. Don't want to do that. Yeah. Let's take a look-see here first before we go anywhere. This ought to be fun. Okay. Okay, if you look at that master cylinder, you'll see okay, guys, yesterday when I was explaining to look at the master cylinder because it's drooling down the brake booster here, that's obviously needing to be replaced. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a safety inspection on the brake system. I'm not talking about rebuilding this. What I am talking about is we're going to get this wheel off. We're going to check the wheel bearings, check the discs themselves for wear, see what the brake calipers look like, see what the brake pads look like, see if we've got a bunch of ball joint play, basically to see if this has enough left in it to get me off this hill safely. Honestly, I don't have enough money to go through replacing disc brakes and et cetera, the whole system. So I am going to do what will get me off of here safely, and we'll replace what needs to happen to do that, needs to be done to do that. I only could talk. So what I am seeing is rear brake cylinder is empty. Now, before I was assuming, because that usually happens, you have only the master cylinder, which is obviously where it's going, or hopefully where it's going, is leaking that out of the rear, because smaller reservoir, also it's the nearest the back. Okay, so we're going to fill that, see if we can get it coming out of anywhere we can see it. We're going to fill the front. Again, this thing's on an angle, so is the fluid. I want this thing down off this angle, by the way, today. I hope we are going to put different wheels on it. I wouldn't mind having these wheels on it, but the moment I have another set of rims with tires that hold air. So we're going to try that and get the front of it on the ground, see what the brakes look like. And we may actually try it. I believe it has front brakes, which will be a big blessing if I'm right. So right now I should have started on that side, farthest to the nearest, which is actually right rear, right front, left front. But knowing the brakes are already functioning, we're going to start here. We're going to check this out, see what's left there, what I'm going to need to do, make parts list. I'm going to have to come back with a master cylinder because I know that master cylinder is junk. We need to deal with the radiator too. That just popped into my head. We're going to use that. Speaking of which, when I take you down from there, actually, I will show you. Actually, I may not. I will. So the thermostat housing has a 3/4 inch pipe plug in it. That pipe plug was part of that mystery second heating air conditioning system, not air conditioning, second heating system. That hose went into the top of that housing. So that solves one of the mysteries. That's where it was getting water from. One half of its flow, and the other half I haven't discerned yet, but I'm sure this thing will tell that story as we go. Anyway, I'm going to pull you off there. We're going to come over here and we're going to take this wheel off and see what we got to deal with. I do not have a jack stand, but I do have a rim stuffed under the frame there, and the jack's holding it up. Sketchy. Not quite crazy enough to want to hurt myself by not having something else under there to catch it. Well, brake pads are barely there. Rotor, it's got a couple of grooves in it. It's not terrible. We are going to replace the pads. Everything else seems tight. It doesn't look like this thing's been lubed or anything, which we'll do when we do the replacement. What is this from? Oh, yeah, when I was working on the air conditioning. More rat poop. So let's see if we can get some fluid through this. What do these brake lines feel like? Actually, they're pliable. They don't look distorted at all. Not saying that that's great. We'll see if how fluid goes through them and go from there. I have been hitting these brakes, as you've seen, multiple times, and it is free. So let me get this to put here into a catch. I will grab those and be right back. All right, I've rounded up proper tools. I'm going to see if we can get this bleeder to, not that way we're not, ratchet wrench the other direction. Okay. Well, that's, okay, we'll go with that. I'm going to go push on the pedal a couple times and see if I can get, if that bleeder's plugged. Then we're going to hook up something else. maybe it is plugged. Seriously. Okay. So that rim I've got stuck under there is a 5-lug originally for this lug pattern for this truck. And no, that went nowhere. So anyway, the rim's got a bunch of, somebody burned a tire off of it. It's got wire wrapped around it, which just in turn wrapped around my leg. Well, this does have moisture, but it appears it is plugged. Let's see if it'll push down now. That master cylinder is froze up. There is some liquid down here, but there's no way we're making that master cylinder work. That doesn't make me really happy. Well, yeah, it does, because I want to get off here in one piece. And those master cylinders are 30 bucks, literally. More rat garbage. So let's tighten that down. See if that other wheel's going to work on here. It should. Get it off these jack stands, or ramps, excuse me. Huh. Now that's really, really weird. This rim does not fit, which my assumption was it would, because this fit my El Camino. So I think one of these is 5 by 5 1/4 or 5 1/2. Obviously it's off, that ain't gonna work. So just occurred to me, I pushed that clutch or brake pedal down. It did move some fluid, so it probably didn't lock that thing up by binding it in the piston in the brake master cylinder itself. That is something that could have happened. It did not. You know what I'd like to do? I am going to order pads, but we're not going to change those pads until we get down to the house. There's a reason for that. There's still enough meat on them that they will get me down there safely. Not enough that I want to drive around, but what they will do is clean up those rotors. I know that sounds strange, but living in these mountains, cars parked for a long time, they get all funky, and immediately people are turning rotors, and if you drove it to town and back, the rotors will be spotless, shiny again, and then change the pads, because there's going to have all that rust embedded in the pads itself. It doesn't work, Paul. It's the other direction. Yes, crisscross always. 99% of you guys know that. So, let me get this real quick. All right, so I do have a set of these tires and wheels with those hubcaps, except two of them have four-wheel drive cutouts in them. So what I am going to do, and the tires are in terrible shape like this, but they hold air. The problem they have is they have bead leaks. So I'm going to have hopefully I can take it to my brother's and take it off there and get the rust out of it and do some gooey on it and bring it back and have them rolling on its original wheels. I did find the air cleaner for this thing, which gave me big hopes I know what the cubic inches is, but that didn't work because it's not there. So, let me think. We'll get it brake pads. I should probably take a look at the rear brake shoes and see what those are. Also, if I get I don't know if I'm going to crawl under there with a jack under it without my jack stands. And this thing's so short that my jack stands I use on these other trucks is way too big, and the ones that aren't being used or aren't that big are under my Chevelle. Okay, so let's get you down there from now and make a decision on where we're going from here. Okay, what we are going to do is get the cooling system very much closer to being functional, because we're going to need that to drive off this hill. So let's take this thermostat housing off. And I can show you the housing and the difference that they did because of that auxiliary or added heater core heating system, double heating system. And as far as that heating system goes, my curiosity is way too high. So once I've got this thing all running and we can drive it off here, which we will safely, I am going to take the dashboard off and look at every part of it. Oh, I'm so glad I did that. Those little buggers. That's the nice way of putting it. Something tells me we might have had a cooling problem. For sure. Dang thermostat looks brand new. What the heck? Anyway, so the difference here is this. There's the plug in the heater hose, and the diameter of this is just slightly, seemed like it was slightly bigger. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just angled. And one thing for sure, that is where they were hooking up. So we will be keeping this so I can restore that later, which I'll have to get an entirely different hose for. Now I carefully take that thermostat out of there because it is covered in rat poo. That wasn't hard, it's just barely sitting there. That is just disgusting. Are you bound up? You are not bound up. And the gasket's in one piece. I'm going to order a thermostat for this. Which one is it? Come on, I can't see you. Top rad. Well, they usually have a temperature on them. Right on the end usually. And this one does not. That's really weird. Usually they are stamped on there. Means it's probably been replaced. All right, let's put that back on. This one, because it has the right angle to use with that radiator. I'm going to have to make a radiator hold down for the top. Isn't that big a deal. At metal fab stuff, that's what I do. That's one of the things I do. Absolutely love it. Custom stuff. And eventually I will get back to doing some on the work on the International. I know that there wasn't a ton of views compared to the Will It Run. But keep in mind that was filmed when I had no idea what I was doing with that camera. And vertical versus horizontal is huge. And well, we know how to do that now, and I'm learning as we go to make it better for you. And me, because I'm kind of I like everything perfect. It used to be called perfectionist, now it's obsessive compulsive, right? Obsessive. Whatever. Right is what I want. I'm going to order plugs, wires, cap, rotor. We'll deal with that. We'll put brake shoes on it in the back and brake pads in the front. Didn't want to do a whole brake job, but it looks like I'm going to be. All right, let's set that radiator in here. We'll need this hose. Don't play with me wiring. Thank you, that's nice of you. All right, we will use the, well, once we discern which way this thing goes. That wouldn't be it. No, sir, this would be. Use the hose to hold it in place, right? That ain't gonna work. Usually it does. This is a wimpy hose. Do not want that into the core at all. Like I was saying, I hate screwdrivers, especially with my shaky hands. I don't like that placement. That's much better. The theory was this was going to hold itself right there. That theory went right out the window. Still trying to figure out how we can be dealing with the same heater core that I just took off a, it's a newer model, but the heater core should be the same. I would think, evidently not, because the holds down don't work on this one, and it worked on the 86 square body. This being a 77, that's a big difference in years, but yeah, most of the sheet metal does. Okay. I'm going to wire tie that down to something. Yes, I am. Let me grab a wire tie. I'm not sure what we're going to wire it to. Maybe this? Yeah, that'll work to keep it out of the, while I'm building mounts. Yeah. That'll keep it out of there at the moment. I just don't want it leaning against the metal there. All right, let's tighten up the lower one. Where's my radiator cap? I know this thing came with one. At least I thought it did. So the heater hose clamp. You know, what's the chances of that one being full of rodent too? Downhill, you know, if one got in there, I'd say it's pretty high. I really don't want that flowing through this radiator. It's in real good shape. Come off there, clamp. Man, somebody wrenched you right into the rubber. Come on, you can do it. Maybe not. Yeah, that had to be adjusted a little bit different. What I'm doing here is trying to break the seal on that radiator hose. Without busting my knuckles or bloodying myself thoroughly. Usually if I can get one side freed up, I'm good to go. Clamp is messing with me. Come on, turkey. All right, I'm done playing with that until we have some clamps and coolant and all that stuff to put in it. That'll keep the rodents out of that part. That I'm worried about. Okay. All right, so what we know is we need brake pads, which I won't put on until I get off the hill. I'm going to assume we're going to need rear wheel cylinders. So I'm going to get rear wheel cylinders and we'll check the pads or the brakes at that time on the rear. I want all four working. If we need to get brake shoes, I'll do that. I'm going to order a master cylinder, brake pads. Once we get it down there, we'll check wheel bearings and all that stuff and get more thorough with that. We just want to get this thing completely running and down there. I'm going to order a tune-up, cap, rotor, plug wires, plugs. Oh yes, and to get this off the hill, as we've seen, we've succeeded big time. Not a little bit. We got, the clutch actually works, which just amazes me. We got the linkage in it, which I had to steal off my other truck. Parts are a little bit hard to find for this thing, to say the least. Used to be able to get stuff out of wrecking yard continuously, not so much anymore. So to drive it off the hill right now, inflated tires, brake cylinders, brakes working, which won't take us very much longer. Coolant in it, we can wire tie this up if we have to. Obviously get this hose out of the fan's way. We're missing a steering box, and I have having a heck of a time finding one. It may end up having to buy one new, and they're not cheap new. So I'm hoping not to do that. That would not be good, but it has to come off here safe. So we're going to end this one here. Please like, comment, and subscribe, share, and I appreciate you all. And until the next time, we will see you.